So I was born in Detroit, went to the University of Colorado, got a business degree there, and then went out to San Francisco and worked in the wine business for 5 years, and then got into the capital equipment, selling capital equipment to the creative and printing industries, and did that for about 20 years, and then got into the call center business. Via that call center business, I got into the Philippines, where it's been a booming industry here for the last 10 years. Met a lady who's now my fiance by the name of Rachael. We worked together for a couple of years and decided to go out on our own and start another company. That's when we got into the Get Creative Straight Arrow businesses. That's a company called Get Creative, and it's a distribution company for Getty Images, now also Adobe. But when we did that, we went from their 40 top clients, which were the major agencies here, and we added 250 clients in the first year of business. They were duly impressed with that, and actually had us do a lot of their marketing in other parts of Asia for them, which created a need for us to start a small, design agency, company, which was Straight Arrow. And so back then we started Get Creative with 6 people, and Straight Arrow with 2 people. Today, Straight Arrow is 140 people, and Get Creative is about 12 people. The unique value that we have is we are able to do the back end of the creative processes in the Philippines at a much lower cost. We don't do ideation, and we don't do any client-facing activities in our main markets, which are the U.S., U.K., and Australia. But we do everything below that, and everything below that is processes that we put in place to do really kind of more mechanical functions. For instance, that's a relatively universal thing that most companies need. It is a very tedious and mundane task, and so there's no reason to do that in New York or London when you can do it in the Philippines at 1/4 the cost. So that would be a very unique, proposition for clients. So, our biggest challenge has been growth, a positive problem. But if you don't have the cash and the funding to mitigate that, you can easily get in trouble very, very quickly. So the first and main reason the company is successful is because the managing director, my fiance Aya, is very engaged in running it. His leadership would be the number one reason. The other one is we've created an environment for the employees that is very flexible and very kind of unique. We don't do things in a traditional way, so it's considered a pretty cool place to work. Opportunity is something that people create. They're in the right place and they actually take the risk. There is a lot of risk associated with taking on these 12 people and kind of growing that business with one client. You have a lot of concentration issues with that. But we decided to go ahead and take that risk. It was an opportune time, so the opportunity presented itself. The starting a company is very, very difficult, and persistence is key. It's a very challenging thing, and that's why most of them go out of business, is because people don't get through that first initial phase of developing the business. And I think the way you get through that is you have very specific goals, and goals that you want to achieve, and you focus on where you're going to be, not where you're at. You have to keep the end in mind, I think, as you go through these, kind of really beginning, challenging phases. And that's persistence and knowing where you want to go. Most people don't make goals, and if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to have to set goals and be persistent in achieving those goals.
My interview with Mr. Gust, there were 3 things that I thought were really important and were great takeaways. First, I loved what he said about setting goals and being persistent if you want to be an entrepreneur. So there are ways to set goals and then so many different paths you can go down to achieve those goals, which I thought was something that was really cool. Secondly, he talked about how problems don't have to be viewed in a negative light and that they provide opportunities to grow and to reevaluate your business, think about what you could be doing better. And lastly, I liked that he talked about creating an environment that is really friendly for your employees and how this is one way to achieve success.